For anybody to call a man by the name of Olumba Obu a god means he doesn't even know what qualifies someone to be a god. Most war religions come from the Bible. One of the security operatives slaps another security operative. The resurrection of Jesus was not something that was done in a corner. Put a seal on the grave. Put soldiers to guard the grave.
You made mention of the writers of the Bible.
Yes.
And you said they've never met.
Yes. He must have been an eyewitness of all these events. Abraham had no Bible. Moses had no Bible. All those ancient men of the Old Testament didn't have a copy of the Bible. Moses wrote about his death in the book of Deuteronomy. How could he have died and written about his death?
We speak to the nations. Falsehood is collapsing. Deception is collapsing. The spell is broken. The oppression. We speak to the nations. Falsehood is collapsing. Deception is collapsing. The spell is broken. The oppression is broken. All the deceptive teachings are manipulated.
Wait. Now, I want us to talk about the OOO, Olumba Obu.
Okay.
I made a post about it a couple of days ago on my page. I find it quite interesting that someone is claiming to be God, and people believe he is God. They worship him like God. They call him God. I mean, if you go to places on, pages on social media, you see people who are making comments like, "You are the only God I know. You are my personal Lord and Savior. Without you, there is no other God." And then this man died. Now, from what I've heard, they're having issues in the church on who will succeed him. They said it is the son. Some elders of the church are against it. And I'm not taking side, trying to take side in all of this. I've seen people who laugh at these people. I've seen people who say they don't know what they're doing, that these people who believe in this man are very foolish and all of that. But the question I want to ask is it not the same? Can this not be likened to the majority of Christians who believe that Jesus Christ, who was born a Jew in Israel, he died, resurrected, according to what we've read? Those who believe that this Jewish man is God, do they have any right to condemn those who are saying that this Calabar man is God? Is it because this one is an African and the other one is a Jewish man? Or what exactly is?
So, Mr. Kell, that question is, technical. So I'm going to take time to unpack that question. Now, Olumba Obu, I don't have much details, on that entire way of worship. I know that Olumba Obu, OOO, used to be in Calabar. And the best I know is that they walk without wearing shoes. They put on white gowns. And that's all. And I don't really know much about that. But for anybody to call a man by the name of Olumba Obu a god means he doesn't even know what qualifies someone to be a god. For you to be God, number one, you must be omnipotent. Number two, you must be omnipresent. Number three, you must be omniscient. That you must know everything. You must know the beginning from the end. You must know the end from the beginning. You must be the creator of all things. That's what qualifies God. And so for anybody who is mortal with flesh and blood to be called God simply means the people are ignorant, or the people are dark, or the people are in darkness. The book of Romans, Brother Paul will say to the people in Israel, to the people in Rome, he says, "Brethren, my heart's desire for Israel is that they be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge." That is, these people were zealous, but not according to knowledge. In the book of Acts chapter 27, Brother Paul said, God has put in every human being a desire to know him. He has put in every human being, whether you are a Christian, non-Christian, a desire to know him, which means within every human being is the desire to know God. And that desire is what led into what we call religions. Because religion is man's quest to seek God, to look for God, to go after God. Now, so in every human being is a desire for God, a desire to know God. And if he gets into a religion and he can't find God there, he keeps looking for. And because of that, many world religions came into being. But if you observe very carefully, most world religions come from the Bible. They come from the Bible, most world religions. And the reason is because the Bible is a sacred material. It's called the Hagios, set apart sacred. Like I always say, the authenticity of the Bible goes beyond any intellectual, ability to doubt. I mean, a volume of 40 books written over a span of 1,500 years by 40 authors, 66 books, 40 authors who never met each other during their lifetime. Doctors, lawyers, kings, farmers, architects, engineers, over a period of 1,500 years, not even 150 years, 1,500 years, never met each other. And when they finished writing, when the books were collated, they were all saying the same thing about the same person. 3 continents, 3 different languages. So which means make the Bible a reliable collection of historical documents that speaks about a savior, about God who became a man, God who became a man for the purpose of salvation. Now, when it comes to the crucifixion, the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus, it is there in history books, that when Jesus died, public figures in Israel, Jews who were known in the nation of Israel, were witnesses to that death. The government of Israel, the Jewish government, put a seal on the grave, put soldiers to guard the grave, to make sure that nobody steals, because he said he was going to rise after the 3rd day. And on the 3rd day, he rose triumphantly without anybody breaking the tomb, without anybody breaking the grave. In fact, when he rose from the dead, he folded the napkin with which they covered him, and he kept it for them in the way Jewish people used to fold their napkin when they are done eating. They fold it and keep in that particular way, which means he was announcing that the purpose of which I died has been fulfilled. Now, when Paul was writing about that resurrection later on in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, he said that when Jesus rose from the dead, he appeared to Cephas, which is Peter. Now, when you read the Bible, we find the story of Peter, how that Peter himself denied Jesus 3 times before that death. But when Jesus rose, he appeared to Peter first. Then he appeared to the 12. Then Paul said he appeared to over 500 men. And he says, as I am writing this historic account right now, of the 500 men, the larger part is still alive, which means you can go and verify the story of this resurrection. They are still alive till date when he was writing the book of Corinthians, in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. So the resurrection of Jesus was not something that was done in a corner. It's not something that was done behind the scenes, or something that was, sluggishly, or, in a covert manner done. It was something that was publicly known in public history. Public domain, people that were public figures. Somebody like Joseph of Arimathea, who till today is in the public history of Israel. It was his tomb that was used for the burial. So the resurrection of Jesus cannot be compared to anyone who just sat down in one corner and claimed that he has died, is going to rise again. No, the difference is very clear. He rose from the dead triumphantly, and it is proven historically, and it is proven from the scriptures that Jesus rose from the dead. That's the difference.
Great. You see, while you were speaking, you made mention of the writers of the Bible.
Yes.
And you said they've never met.
Yes.
The disciples of Jesus Christ, like Peter, Paul, Mark, and the rest of them, you mean they've never met each other?